While some Sonic bosses are unforgettable for amazing climaxes to thrilling storytelling, some are unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Or some are just plain forgettable in all honesty. Today we're ranking every single boss from the original 1991 Sonic the Hedgehog, and boy oh boy it's going to be a bumpy ride. Each boss is going to get a score out of 15, and there will be 3 separate scoring categories: Challenge, which is how tough the fight actually is; Narrative Impact, how much it matters in the story, or if it has a satisfying payoff of some kind; and Design, so essentially the aesthetic, the creativity, the cool factor, or to be honest, does it just have the sauce, you know? Each category provides a maximum of 5 points, and it can go up to a total of 15 if you combine all 3. I think that makes sense. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the ranking. Our lowest ranking is the Egg Scorcher, with a measly 5 out of 15. Thus, we have got the boss of Marble Zone, and boy oh boy, this one's a bit of a snooze fest. Eggman shows up with his little lava drip machine, slowly lowering fire onto the crumbling platforms, and that is it. That's the mechanic of the boss. Nothing more to it as long as you decide not to jump into the lava in the middle, I guess. Challenge. It's a 1 out of 5. Unless you decide to jump into the lava in the middle, or stay right underneath Eggman when he's dropping lava on your head, you are not going to die to this boss. Narrative Impact? It's barely there, so it gets a 2. Yeah, it's technically part of Sonic's journey through the lava-filled ruins, but it doesn't build tension, nor does it push the story forward. It's just kind of there. It exists, you know? And Design? Well, it's a lukewarm 2 out of 5. Lava is cool in theory, but the execution is rather bland. It lacks the flavour. The Eggman mech barely changes, and the lava drip animation is laughably slow. Therefore, the final score for Marble Zone is 5 out of 15. This boss isn't bad enough to be memorable, and not good enough to be exciting. It's the definition of filler. The kind of boss that makes you think, oh right, this guy, upon replaying the game. Next is the Egg Stinger from Springyard Zone, and it brings a bit more flair, and this boss at least tries to do something a little different, but it's still kind of a weird one and makes it difficult to rank. That is why I'm going to give it 5th place here. Eggman pops up from the ceiling with his spiky drill mech, smashing chunks of platform below you. It's basically a reverse whack-a-mole, but with a mild sense of urgency. Yeah, it's a fun one. Challenge, it's going to get to 2 out of 5. You can fall into the pit if you're careless or trying to speedrun the boss, but overall it's not much tougher than the previous bosses in the game. The real challenge is just to keep your footing. Narrative Impact, unfortunately it's going to be another 2 out of 5 here. The zone is cool, but this fight doesn't feel like a climax. It's just a slightly different flavour of Eggman popping up to ruin your evening. Design, this is where it's going to get a 4 out of 5, because it's easily the boss's strongest trait. The Neon City vibes, the drill mech itself, the collapsing arena, it's all got style and a unique taste to it, even if the fight itself doesn't quite capitalise on this. Therefore, the final score is going to be an 8 out of 15. It's flashy, it's bouncy, and it shows a hint of ambition. While it's not in the great tier, it's at least trying to put on a show and give the player a bit of fun, you know? With the same score as the Egg Stinger, we've got the boss of Green Hill Zone, the Egg Wrecker. Eggman swinging a wrecking ball from his Eggmobile, and let's be honest, this fight is rather easy. But then again, this is exactly what you want from your first boss in a video game series. Hence, this is why I'm going to give it 4th place, despite it having the same score as the Egg Stinger. Challenge, I'm going to give it a generous 1 out of 5. He swings, you jump. That is it. That's all there is to this boss. If you end up losing to this boss, I'm going to guess you either sneezed mid-jump, or you dropped your controller, and that's okay. It happens. It feels a little harsh to rank it this low, but I mean, the boss is genuinely easy. Narrative Impact, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, surprisingly. Why? Because it's the first ever Sonic boss. It sets the tone for every encounter after it. It's the original, Eggman is up to something no good, go stop him moment, you know? Design, a solid 3 out of 5. While the Wrecking Ball is simple, it's effective. It's instantly recognisable, it's very iconic, but unfortunately I won't say there's much flair beyond that. It's mainly its long-lasting impact in the series. That is why it gained this score. Final score is 8 out of 15. A fairly good score for the first ever boss in a series. It only loses out on challenge really, and that's what drags it down, but it's the first boss, so overall I would say it's pretty solid. Next is the final boss in the final boss zone, the Eggman Crusher. This is the end of the road. No rings, no room for error. The final zone drops you into a dark, silent chamber with Eggman hiding inside his giant crushing pistons. It's stripped down, tense, and oddly quiet for a final showdown. It leaves a strong mark at first glance. Therefore, it just about squeezes into our top 3. Challenge? It's a 3 out of 5. You've got no rings, so one mistake does equal your death here, and that feels pretty brutal if I'm honest. But the actual fight is manageable. The piston patterns are simple, and Eggman doesn't attack beyond trying to squash you and the electric ball things that are in the air. I don't know what to call them, but yeah, the difficulty curve is rather flat. What you see is what you get. Narrative impact, 4 out of 5. This is where the final zone earns its flowers here. The sudden silence, a sterile environment, the no rings twist that catches first time players off guard. This is it. There's no dramatic cutscene, there's no mood shift. And you know what? The actual tone of the zone does a lot of its storytelling. It's cold, minimal, ominous. It feels like you're in Eggman's last line of defense. And obviously, it is the end of the first game. It's quite a lot of narrative importance here. Ah yes, the Labyrinth Zone boss. Why do I think I'm going to get crucified for this? The one that doesn't want to really be a boss fight. Instead, it's a stress-inducing water chase where the real enemy is oxygen. Eggman doesn't even fight you directly here. He just runs away while the room floods and you desperately try not to drown. But honestly, it works. And that's how somehow it managed to squeeze into second place in this ranking. Challenge, a solid 4 out of 5. It's not hard in the traditional sense, but the pressure is real. Between the rising water, the disappearing platforms, and Sonic's tragic inability to swim, this boss delivers panic, nothing but. Narrative impact, unfortunately this does let the boss down. It's going to be just a 2 here. There's no story payoff, no cutscene moment, and to be honest, there's not even a major feeling of victory when it ends, because when you do catch up to Eggman, it just dips, the game shrugs it off and you move on. So unfortunately, it's just a 2. Design, a strong 4 out of 5. The setting is atmospheric, the vertical climb is memorable, and it's different from every other boss in the game, for better and worse. Therefore, we're going to give it a final score of 10 out of 15. It's more of a psychological thriller than an actual boss fight. It leaves a lasting impression, however. You may not love it, but I'll tell you what, you'll definitely remember it. Last, but certainly not least, we have our top ranking, the Starlight Zone boss. Now this is a glow up. After all the weird lava traps and underwater trauma, Starlight Zone rolls in and secures the top spot in our rankings. The boss here has Eggman dropping bombs while you launch them back at him using seesaws. It's simple, but it kind of feels like a game mechanic rather than a tech demo or a typical boss fight on jumping on top of Eggman. It is using the game's mechanics really well. It lets you mess with the physics rather than forcing you into a particular scenario, and I find that pretty fun. Challenge, a 3 out of 5. The bombs fall fast, and if your timing's off, you're going to be taking damage, but once you get that rhythm, it's one of the more fair and enjoyable fights in the game. Narrative impact, it's just going to be a 2 here. Like most bosses in Sonic 1, there's no real build-up or payoff per se. It's just Eggman doing Eggman things, and then fleeting like the cartoon villain he is. Still, the city gives it a slightly more final act feel, I guess, than the earlier zones. Design, a perfect 5 out of 5. The backdrop, gorgeous. The music of the boss fights, it's here and a whole mood. The bomb mechanic, well, it's actually fun to mess around with and get your payback with on Eggman for once. It's the most aesthetically pleasing boss in the game also, and one that feels like it belongs maybe in a modern Sonic game. It could easily, make it into a 3D game and be pretty fun. Final score, 10 out of 15. Not overly difficult, not overly meaningful, but got a whole lot of style and flavour. And finally, when you top that off with a sprinkle of clever gameplay, it makes it one of the game's high points for sure. And there you have it. Every boss from the original Sonic the Hedgehog ranked and judged, and I guess slightly roasted. Looking back, it's honestly wild how much variety these bosses had, even in such an early platformer. Some were iconic, some were laughable, and some were just, let's say, doing their best. But you know what? That's what makes Sonic 1 special. is figuring itself out, and these bosses laid the groundwork for some truly legendary showdowns in the later games. Do you agree with my personal rankings, or did I just disrespect your whole opinion? Let me know in the comments, I genuinely want to hear your guys' takes. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to like and subscribe, maybe even hit the bell, because I've got plenty of Sonic content coming your way. Maybe we'll do Sonic 2 next, you know, I've not decided, I could even go completely off the rails, who knows. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and remember, no matter how bad a boss is, at least it's not as bad as the Labyrinth Zone underwater physics. Thank you for your time everyone, see you later, bye bye.